Yes.
Present. Thank you. Item 2D, approval of agenda order. Do I hear a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Consent calendar. 2E. Any change by fellow council members on conflict of interest? No change? No? No change. Now we move to item 3, consent calendar. All items will be considered approved unless somebody would like to pull an item. Does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion?
Move to approve.
Second. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
Motion carries. Minutes, cash summary. Okay.
Agency reports.
Agency reports. Thank you.
Sure.
Starting with the sheriff.
Good evening. I was Sergeant Kevin Griffiths last time I was here. Today I come before you as Lieutenant Kevin Griffiths with the Sheriff's Office. So with that being said, with that promotion that started on Saturday, I will be transferring to the courts for the foreseeable future. So with that, this has been one of my greatest opportunities in the 20 years that I've spent on this agency, working for Colfax, Forest Hill, the search and rescue, and all the things that I've been able to do. So I care deeply for the city for the next few weeks until we get the right sergeant for this position. I'll still be that point of contact. So Ron will still call me, still reach out to me. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of the deputies, making sure they're getting all those notes that they need to do to take care of the city. But truly, if you need anything, please text me, call me, reach out to me, and I'll take care of them. With that being said, I'm going to let Deputy King come up here and talk about the city and all the things that he's had fun taking part in.
Good evening, everyone. Deputy King with the Placer County Sheriff's Office. Everything's been pretty much the same. Only 31 suspicious calls, 11 disturbance calls, 5 alarm calls, and 41 traffic stops, which is basically all proactivity from us deputies out here. Total number of incidents is 177, which is not too far off from the month prior. So for the most part, knock on wood, everything has been going normal here in Colfax. Does anyone have any questions for me? Recent incidents? I think Cal Fire is going to talk about the fire up in Dutch Flat on the Nevada side. But anything sheriff related for me? No? Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. CHP. Cal Fire.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Bob Counts, Assistant Chief with the Cal Fire Placer County Fire Department. First of all, I'd like to apologize for not being around the last little bit. It's been quite a busy fire season. I've been quite a few assignments up and down the state, but happy to be back and re-engaged with the city. Like I said, it has been a pretty busy fire season across the state. It's starting to moderate a little bit. Our burn windows are getting shorter as the darkness falls a little earlier now, but we're not out of the woods yet. And we saw that this past weekend up in Dutch Flat. We had a fire start at the Dutch Flat forebay. It burned ultimately about 28 acres, but that one made us really nervous when it started. It started fast and grew fast. And it was in the exact same area that we had a fire that went for thousands of acres just a short few years ago. It was called the Lowell Fire. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that, but due to the aggressive initial attack, Chief Siebert back here was the incident commander for that fire. They made a really aggressive attack, both by air and by ground. We had our night flying helicopters on it. Cal Fire's brand new C-130 heavy air tanker out of McClellan flew it, and we just attacked it with everything we had, both air and ground. So great success, great job by all the troops that were out there. On the screen, you'll see our statistics for the month of September. Station 30 in Colfax here ran 101 calls. 62 of those were within Colfax city limits. And for our volunteer response, we had 10 calls they responded to for about 16% this month. And it was the normal range of calls, mostly medical for the most part. Last night, we did have a small structure fire in Shady Glen on Gladicon. It was quickly extinguished, but unfortunately, we did have one burn patient that we had to fly down to the burn center. So, and that's all I have tonight, unless anybody has any questions.
No questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so no representative from CHP. We move on to nonprofit.
think I'll be back this soon, but I'm back. Sharon Connors, because you don't want me to do that. Okay, so, all right, co-drive. Now, next week, we're having our senior lunch. And this is a program that the Lions does for the seniors in the community. It's at the Colfax Methodist Church. They have a nice lunch and they play bingo. They don't pay money, but they win a nice prize. And this month, we're having chicken enchiladas. So they're pretty excited about that. And I do not have flyers on. We're having a bake sale on Sunday after the VFW pancake breakfast, and the bake sale benefits the VFW auxiliary, and the pancake breakfast, of course, benefits the veterans. And all these are important programs because all of these nonprofits do something in the community that is beneficial to the community. And I'm here to collect $5 from anybody that wants to buy the turkey bucket tickets. I don't want to have to go to all the bars this time or stand out in front of the restaurants. You know, I'm hoping everybody will step up and just buy some turkey bucket tickets. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other nonprofit? No more? We move. Any other nonprofit? No. Okay, move on to item 5, presentations. There are none. Move on to 6, public hearing. There is none. Move on to item 7, public comment. This is a time for any citizen has 5 minutes to talk about anything that is not on the agenda. And we do have 3. What sequence do we want to take those in? 5. What sequence do we want to take?
They're numbered.
Okay. I mean, do we want to do them now or before the humans that are here?
These are. These are people who have requested.
Okay.
public comments.
I mean, do we want to do that now or tell Harry to sit down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was Zoom. On Zoom.
Good evening, council,
Sorry.
staff, audience,
Oh, okay.
law enforcement. Just two things. A question on Canyon Way between Sims and Chevron. There's a whole bunch of new markings all over the ground. Some of them happen to be over the potholes, near the potholes, what have you, but there's quite a bit of marking. And I was just wondering, it says something about USA and is there?
USA procedure for repair. It's a USA procedure for road repair.
Is
So
that what
staff
it
will
is?
be out filling potholes.
Okay. It just seems strange all of a sudden after I gave you the note. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they just didn't mark the whole area, but.
It's getting worse.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing I'd like to do is congratulate our law enforcement that protects us. Monday, I had an occasion to watch, which was almost like a television show. We had a neighbor in distress and somebody had violated the restraining order, which I understand it was a criminal restraining order, which is higher than domestic violence, I understand. And that neighbor came to my door shaking like they were just scared to death. And she had the sheriff's department online dispatch. And so being that I don't sit around very quietly, I said, I'm going down there and see what I can find because there were loaded guns in the house and he could have had access to them. And so as I walked down the road to the house, I called 911 and I figured more people to call was better than just one. And as I was reporting what was going on, 2 units rolled right up to Cal Fire's driveway. And I recognized the one deputy. I've seen her there for the same thing a couple times. And told her what the situation was in the house. And she took over and the other gentleman took over. And the next thing I know, the guy's running through my backyard and all this other kind of crazy stuff. And I couldn't even believe I was seeing what I was seeing. And Deputy Adams finally said, we're going to secure the perimeter and you need to go in the house. That's okay. The next thing I know, I got a call from the neighbor that was in distress. She said, I'm on the other side of your house and they got him. And when I walked outside, there was probably 6 or 7, maybe sheriffs there, deputies and 5 cars and the whole Marianne. And it just happened like that quick. So thank you guys. That was an awesome job. And just want to say the Deputy Adams, she's done very well with that situation, trying to make it, lasting. I'll put it that way. But anyway, she came and interviewed me the next day and she told me what she's trying to do. And I think that's commendable. So if anybody ever wonders what happens around Sleepy Colfax, my partner who is in the graphics with me, he goes, boy, for a small town, you guys sure have a lot going on up there besides graphics. So anyway, thank you so much.
Okay, we have 5 that have filled out a form. Number 1 is Brian. I guess I should take them first. They'd be nice enough to.
Colfax City Council and staff. My name is Brian Faircloth. My colleagues and I live in Placer County and are volunteers for United Sovereign Americans, not spokespersons. United Sovereign Americans is a nationwide, nonpartisan organization with thousands of active volunteers in over 20 states. Today, we come to you as concerned citizens sharing alarming information about our state's voter roll database. Research of the state's voter database was done through hundreds of hours of research conducted by highly qualified and credentialed data teams. An analysis of the 2022 election researched by the highly qualified data teams using only official data provided by California election officials indicates serious issues with compliance of federal law. We are here to present you and the public the results of the aforementioned analysis showing the votes cast, counted, and certified may not all be valid and accurate under the Constitution and under law. We are not here to cast any blame or aspersions on any elected official. We do not suggest any candidates in any race have wrongly won or lost their races, nor do we advocate for overturning or rerunning any past elections. Tonight, we will present you with a resolution demanding an end to the inaccuracy and uncertainty plaguing our elections, along with a summary of our findings and the laws that apply. Though you bear no direct responsibility for anything in the electoral process, we come to you, our closest elected representatives, for support and action. We're asking that you listen to the resolution and take the necessity for valid elections seriously by adding the resolution to your next meeting agenda. Our next three speakers will read the resolution in three parts, and our final speaker will conclude our presentation.
Okay, thank you. So number 2, Brian.
City Council members, my name is Brian Brubaker, and I am here to read into the record the first portion of the USA Resolution. Resolution for a legally valid 2024 general election. Whereas it is it is a recognized civil right in the United States for every citizen to have free and fair elections. Whereas it is the duty of our election officials to guarantee our elections are accurate and free from distortion or manipulation. Whereas our constitutional system of representative government only works when the following 4 tenets of the election are upheld. Number 1, the voter rolls must be accurate. National Voter Registration Act of 1993. Number 2, votes counted must be from eligible voters. U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 2. 3, the number of votes counted must equal the number of voters who voted. Number 4, there can be no more than 1 in 125,000 ballots in error by the voting system. Help America Vote Act of 2002. Whereas the analysis of the California 2022 general election has uncovered evidence of massive inaccuracies that appear to violate both federal and state laws, including 5,886,198 ineligible or uncertain registration violations found within the California State Voter Roll Database. 2,776,939 votes cast by ineligible or uncertain registrations. 123,785 more votes counted than voters who voted. No one knows who cast them. 2,776,849 apparent voting violations in excess of the legal standard of system accuracy for a valid federal election. Maximum allowable system errors for the 2022 general election was 90. Certification was defined by law is an attestation of accuracy and compliance. The certification of the 2022 election appears to have been fraudulent and illegal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And number 3, William.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, audience. My name is William Trathan. I am here to read into the record the next section of the USA resolution. Whereas these findings trample legal accuracy requirements of the voting system during a federal election. Whereas the intent of the voters must be known factually before certification can lawfully be conducted. Whereas the 2022 general election appears to have been invalid, depriving us of the guaranteed protection of our natural rights under a government duly and provably chosen by us, the American people, resulting in incalculable damage to our families, our way of life, and the fabric of these United States. Therefore, we call upon our representatives to provide relief to the people and the assurance of domestic tranquility by joining us in demanding a valid 2024 general election that upholds these existing laws and equitable principles of law. Number one, proof of citizenship, identity and eligibility required to register and vote, not anonymous attestation. Number two, voter rolls certified accurate and available for public review and challenged 30 days before the start of early voting. Voters added after that date must bring proof of citizenship, identity, and address in person to a qualified official at each polling place. Number three, hand-marked ballots. Similar to currency, where imaging technology is used for tabulation, the security features must be verifiable in the ballot image. Systems, machines, security measures, infrastructure, and conduct are required to be compliant with federal law for fraud prevention regarding risk assessment, certification, testing, and implementation. Adjudication must be signed off by party, candidate, and trained citizen witnesses after being given full and effective observation rights. Candidates and trained citizens must be allowed immediate access to ballots, ballot images, and cast vote records. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number 4 on the list, Laura.
Thank you, Colfax, for allowing us to share our resolution with you. My name is Laura Burns. I'm a resident of Placer County. I'm here to read into the record the last section of the United Sovereign American Resolution. Number 6, ballots, regardless of entry source, election operations and systems must maintain end-to-end chain of custody from voter to vote count to final canvass, including auditability and witness transfer with paper records. Number 7, a National Institute of Standard and Technology compliant, randomized, statistically valid, and end-to-end audit with 95% confidence level of all elections pursuant to the 14th Amendment, Section 2 must be performed. These audits are to be conducted by qualified, insured and bonded security, forensic or financial auditors, not personnel from within the election system. Reconciliation will include the vote count, real physical ballots, adjudication, cast vote records, ballot count, qualified voter count, custody transfer of all other paper and electronic election systems, including logs. Number 8, if the total unique variance shared here this evening is more than 10% of the margin of victory, a new election must be held in the state for those candidates affected, unless the issues can be provably corrected by a manual hand recount and a full review of the records. Number 9, waiver of requirements is not allowed. Only end-to-end system compliance from registration through certification can guarantee the intent of the people is accurately recorded. Be it resolved that the Colfax City Council members stand in support with the concerns and remedies presented here. We implore the Placer County Board of Supervisors, California legislatures, federal legislatures, law enforcement, federal and state prosecutors, judges, both California's Secretary of State and county registrars of voters to cooperate and fulfill these firm requests of the people.
Okay, thank you. And speaker number 5, Adriana.
Thank you, Colfax. My name is Adrienne Ewell, and I am here to conclude our presentation. What you have heard tonight is a powerfully written resolution outlining massive inaccuracies in our 2022 election from registration through certification. The resolution delineates meaningful remedies that will proactively protect the validity of the 2024 general election for all Americans. Your written copy cites many U.S. Supreme Court precedents and federal and constitutional mandates that support the need for such actions. Large numbers of Californians have questions about the trustworthiness of our elections. Official data show these concerns are valid, and the law says resolving them is essential to our liberty. The cost for not fixing the enumerated problems is immeasurable. So we urge you to put this resolution on the agenda for the next city council meeting where you can vote to join us for fair, honest, and valid elections. The United Sovereigns Americans website showcases our initiatives nationwide, features some extremely informative election videos. We encourage you to visit uniteforfreedom.com and learn more about our nonpartisan organization. Our goal is to restore valid elections throughout our country. That's unite4freedom.com. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can pass this on.
Here's your copy to the council president.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. On the presentation and the contact information that you can contact me if you got any questions.
We have others that want to have.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roy Johannesson, and it's a real pleasure to be here. When I come into this building, I've been here a couple of times and it chokes me up. It chokes me up because it's so real and it works. There are very few small, real working towns in America anymore. I grew up in one. I grew up on a one-cow farm outside of a small farming community. Grandma Moses lived down the road. We had a railroad that came to town. It's all gone. It's all gone. And this is still here and it chokes me up. So what I want to explore is a way to keep it real. And to keep it real means that downtown can't die, it can't get seedy, the businesses can't dry up and go away and never come back. There has to be something. There has to be commerce that comes to downtown. And guess where the commerce comes from? It comes from the freeway. It comes from the freeway. So the way to get commerce downtown in a controlled fashion is what I want to do. And I also like bikes and I like green trails. So it makes perfect sense to me to see if there's a green trail that gets people from the interstate to downtown in a controlled way and keeps that money coming in and keeps downtown real and functioning. And so the other thing that occurs to me is that Prop 13 has killed small towns. It has killed small towns because it has taken away small towns' ability to govern themselves. All the small towns that I see here have their cup out, their tin cup, and they get some sales tax, and that's their money, and that's how they beg to stay alive, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. There are ways for small towns to take their finances back and put them in their control because you guys, the lawyers here, you may be way ahead of me on this. I'm just a retired engineer here, but there was an amazing court case, California Supreme Court, City of Santa Barbara. The city won, and what the California Supreme Court said was that the right to use public streets or rights of way is a property interest. And Prop 218 does not limit the authority of government to sell or lease its property and spend the compensation it receives for whatever purposes it chooses. So this is a small door in a wall of no's that I should like to drive a truck through and invite the city of Colfax to follow me. I think, and I don't know, that this has a lot to do with negotiating franchise fees for, say, electrical providers to run electrical lines through city streets and providers of internet and that sort of thing. And I just don't know how all that works with the city and franchise fees. The one thing that I'm interested in is parking and leasing parking space because of the inequity of the current tax situation, where the retail businesses are floating the city's boat with sales taxes with that tin cup that the state gives them, and that's it. And all the businesses that don't pay sales taxes, they get their streets clean, they get all of these city services that the retailers are paying for. That is not equitable. So it seems to me that there is a revenue source here that is of equal magnitude of the current sales force money by looking at these franchises and the city property and what is owned here and what the city provides in value and what the people who use this value to make money should be paying for that value. So I just want to lay that out there because I would really like that to fund a green trail to connect the freeway to Real Town so it can stay alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we move on to item 8, council business, council reports. Starting left to right, Sean.
Nothing to report tonight.
Larry Hilberg.
Yes, hi. I recently went to the Economic Development Commission meeting for the county and learned that I'm on the board. And that's very fitting with my interest here, which is economic development. And I've started a couple things underway that I can't really talk too much about yet. I did, though, go to the Chamber of Commerce Coffee and Conversations meeting. And to my surprise, each of us council people had an opportunity to speak. The meeting wasn't what I expected it to be, but I had a lot to say and I did. And basically, I'm advocating that people in this community, including business owners and whoever else is interested, get together in a brainstorming session and determine the Colfax, and this is kind of an N word for marketing. There's probably better ways to say it, but brand. You know, what is our brand? And so I'm in the process of scheduling such a thing. Soon I'll publicize it and start recruiting people. But the idea is for Colfax to determine what we are, and from that, what we can be, and then how do we reach the people that'll get us there. Brainstorming sessions, I'll just a moment about those. The way they work is nobody is allowed to judge an idea or to say that didn't work, or we tried that once before, or there's no yeah buts. The brainstorming just takes off and ideas build on each other. And that would be the first step. And I did get an opportunity to speak on that. There is a group here that's putting together some ideas and calling it Friends of the Theater. One of the things that is missing downtown now, pretty much, is what would be called a destination. A destination would be a library, for example. We do have a library, and that is a destination. We have a theater that isn't running right now, and the theater would be an awesome destination. I pushed very hard with the Sierra Vista Community Center Board and with Ron and the city, starting the farmers market that happens every Thursday downtown now. That is a destination. And there are many examples I could give, but that is something I'm going to work very hard on. I spoke quite a while to Connie Marson. I first went to the I went to the VFW meeting, expecting that Connie would be there, and Connie wasn't there. And anyway, it never happened, but it will be moving forward. Connie feels strongly, and so do I, that in 1949, that park was called the Colfax. Well, you heard the name when Sharon mentioned it. And somehow we lost track of the name, and it really bothers me that we can lose track so easily of our history. In a lot of the paperwork for the city now, it's called the Lions Park. And in some cases, they spelled Lions with a Y. And so the Lions certainly contributed to that park. The playground there is absolutely dedicated to the Lions because they built it. But the park itself has a name, and it had a name, and we lost track of it. And that's really what Connie's all about. And several of us, including me, because I spoke to her for about an hour, have a package with the history of how it got that name and how we should go forward. So as Sharon mentioned, the VFW is working on a plaque. The plaque will go over on Rising Sun near the ballpark side entry. And the second thing that some people, including me, are advocating and working on is to name the street behind the VFW and the American Legion building Ed Marson, after Ed Marson, because of his family's and his involvement in that park. So that's what I've been doing.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn.
Alrighty, so we did have Oktoberfest at the end of September that the chamber put on, and I did pop in over there, even though I'm not a beer drinker. But they did a great job. It was a huge stride from their first one that they did the year before. So I'm very excited to see what the chamber puts on next year. Every year it's getting better for them. Coffee and conversations, as Larry said, there was a collection of your council members that got to attend. And it was great. It was a full house. There was lots of people there, asked lots of different questions. It was just kind of a get to know your council members. And then I had a SACOG, which is the Sacramento Area Council of Governments meeting Monday. It's always a long trip down to Sacramento, and we are 1 week away from your theater performance at the theater next door. We do have a Macbeth being performed. It's called Merde. It is actually Macbeth a la Ubu, so it's kind of a comedic rendition of Macbeth, and that is a free to the community. There are refreshments being served at 5:30, and the play is at 7. So you want to make sure to come by for that, and it is limited seating because the theater is not that big, so get there early so you get a seat in the theater. And I think that's it for the week.
Okay, thank you. I was on vacation, but I did attend the coffee conversation like everybody here. And it was well attended, and that's one good way for members of the community to meet other people that they don't know and maybe get involved with one of the service groups. We need more volunteers with the service groups. We need more contact with the high school and elementary school. And the more we attend these coffee and conversation, the greater likelihood we'll find somebody to sign their name to a sign-up sheet and get the ball rolling. And now we move on to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The compost pad for the compost giveaway is well underway. The blocks have been set in place, and Simpson should be pouring the concrete hopefully by the end of the week. The I&I project is pretty much complete in town. The algae project is moving right along, still looking at springtime for completion on that. And the SCADA upgrade at the wastewater treatment plant, the hardware has arrived and they've started programming and hooking things up and setting them in place, but that will probably be several weeks before they're done with that. That's all I have.
Council business, city manager.
I think this is actually me.
Oh.
So can you hear me? Item 9A on the agenda is an ordinance to establish procedures for adopting assessments and fees. So what this is it's a new bill. It's Assembly Bill 2257 that was recently signed by the governor. And what it allows the city to do is adopt procedures requiring anyone who challenges an assessment or fee that's governed by the Constitution to present that challenge to the city council first. So anytime the city wants to adopt sewer fees, for example, or really any other any property related fee, we have a business license fee coming up. Anything like this where the Constitution requires, I mean, the kind of the minimum requirement is a rational relationship between the cost of the fee and the thing being regulated is kind of the baseline. Many different types of fees out there all kind of have their own particular procedures. But what this does is it establishes an exhaustion requirement. So anyone who wants to challenge the city's fee must come before the city council, state the challenge in writing, and give the council an opportunity to respond to it. This is really similar to what happens in CEQA proceedings. If the city is taking an action that might have a significant effect on the environment, anybody who wants to challenge that action must first present the challenge to the city council. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to kind of work through that process before, but if you're approving a conditional use permit for a new land use or something like that, anybody who has a comment about the effect of that use on the environment could come up and talk about it. And if they don't, they've kind of waived that challenge to the land use. It's a very similar concept except for taxes and fees. So the legislature has authorized the city to adopt these procedures. We've prepared an ordinance for your consideration. It's in the agenda packet, and basically what it does is just establish a procedure. The big points are you have to publish notice of the proposed fee 45 days in advance. So it's a little bit longer than kind of the typical 10 days for a planning and land use related fee. You have to post it on the website. You have to accept written comment. There's kind of a list of different requirements that are laid out in the staff report. This would really only apply if you want to impose that exhaustion requirement. You don't have to go through these notice procedures. It's additional steps the city council can take to kind of protect its action in adopting a fee. That's the gist of it, I think. I'm happy to answer any questions from the council.
Okay. Are there any questions from the public?
Yeah.
You want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out when you were saying that, does that make it easier or harder to protest these fees, this new procedure?
It makes it a little bit harder in a way. It means you have to, if you want to bring a constitutional challenge to a fee, if you want to say the fee the city adopted violated Proposition 218, basically, you have to present that challenge to the city council. And if you don't, you waive the argument.
Okay, thank you. All right, a little harder then.
I think that's the gist of it. I hope that made sense to everybody.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Say that again. It's more extra steps for staff on the front end. It's that 45-day notice period and posting it on the website. The council will have to hold a hearing on a fee no matter what. It's kind of the longer notice period, which is actually good for the public. It makes it easier to see what the council's doing. And then the extra burden on the public is that they actually have to show up to the hearing and present whatever their comment is on the fee.
So in the past, they could do their objections via the email, correct? Or in person? Is this saying it has to be done in person for the objection then?
It doesn't have to be done in person. Previously, there was no, it's called an exhaustion requirement. So previously, there was no requirement that people who object to the fee have to comment at the hearing on the fee. The council could adopt the fee and they could come along after the fact and sue the city and say, the fee you adopted is not rationally related to the cost of regulating whatever it is that you're regulating.
Okay, so basically they're saying you got to object beforehand. Once we've done it, you don't get to come back on us then.
Specifically for constitutional
Right.
objections, yeah.
And so for us, really all that's changing is it's 45 days that we have to publish it
A
before the
little bit
deadline.
longer notice on the fee. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Now, any comments? My reading of this told me that it would be harder for the public to challenge a fee. You know, that's pretty clear. I was curious about the end of public comment period at the hearing. I'm not really quite sure what that means.
Where are you looking?
This is item 7A. It's all the objections must be submitted to the city clerk by the end of the public comment at the end of the hearing. So that
It's in
means
the staff report? Okay. Yeah, that just means it's the exhaustion requirement I'm trying to describe, that you have to state whatever your objection to the fee is before the city council adopts it.
okay, so they have to be here at the public hearing. I mean, it seemed like the 45 days was before the public hearing, or do I have that wrong?
No, you actually have to object in writing. So you can submit an objection anytime in the run up to the council's decision on the fee.
So it seems like somebody'd have to pay awfully close attention to see if we were introducing or changing a fee.
Yes.
I mean, they'd have to be pretty vigilant, and that's not been our experience, at least not my experience. People aren't very vigilant. And then another question connected to that is that any fee changes? Any fee whatsoever that we decide to charge for any reason?
Again, it's an option the council can take. It doesn't apply, like if you didn't want to impose this exhaustion requirement, you could choose not to. You could just not go through the notice procedures laid out in this ordinance. It could apply to any fee, but it doesn't have to apply to any fee if the council or staff elects not to go through the notice procedures.
Yeah, I just wish we had some institutional memory here, because one of the questions I would want to ask is, have we ever had an issue with something like this? And there's probably nobody in this room that has any idea if we have or not.
Yes, we have.
Have we?
Yes.
So what sort of fee?
We're still working on an issue even that goes along with the permitting and fees, so.
Okay. So, all right, so we're making it really hard, it sounds like, for somebody to challenge a fee. And how is it the public becomes aware? What do we do to make sure that the public knows that this new fee is coming?
Well, it's laid out in the ordinance. You need to publish, you need to give 45 days notice. You need to publish it on your website and include a link to the hearing notice. If anybody requests notice of any fee that the city adopts, you have to mail them a copy of the notice of the hearing on the fee, 45 days in advance. And I believe the exhaustion requirement, like you need to comment on this or you waive your right to comment, needs to be called out in bold on the agenda item. So it will say, if you don't, there's a hearing on the fee. If you don't comment now, then you're waiving your right under this ordinance. I'm recommending you adopt.
I know that probably most larger cities and even smaller cities probably have people that are very vigilant just watching for things like this. I don't think we have that here.
Okay, I think you answered my question. So the city somehow just puts it out on the website and people have to pay attention to our agenda. And if they miss it, then they miss the hearing. Too bad, right? And that's kind of where we're at.
That's the idea, and it's really no different than any other ordinance the city would adopt.
Right. And we couldn't do this before, right? This is a new law.
So it's a new law, yeah. The exhaustion defense that this would establish is something new. And it's going to be particularly relevant for Colfax for sewer rates. That's where it's going to come up. That's the most that's what it was intended to regulate, is things like that.
Okay, I know you use the word constitutional, and I'm not sure what is a constitutional fee versus any old fee.
So the Constitution restricts the city's authorities, the city's authority to impose taxes, fees, or assessments. The law has developed over the past 40 years. It's an extremely detailed set of regulations. But I think the executive summary for our purposes here is that it's that reasonably or rationally related requirement that a fee, before you adopt a fee, you have to show it's rationally related to the thing being regulated. So for example, on one of your upcoming agenda items, there will be a proposal to adopt a fee for short-term rentals. And you will notice in the ordinance and staff report that there's a finding that it takes staff a certain amount of time to review an application, monitor short-term rental listings, process the application, hear appeals of denials or what have you. There's a certain amount of staff work that goes into regulating short-term rentals. And we've translated that into dollars, hours of staff time becomes dollars. And we're saying the fee is reasonable because it pays for the city's administration of the short-term rental permit program. That's an example of the sort of justification you need for just a run-of-the-mill regulatory fee. For things like sewer rates, there's a notice and hearing requirement. If you want to have a property assessment, it has to be both rational and evenly divided between the parcels being assessed. It really just depends on the type of fee. And it's a pretty complex body of law that I'm frankly not an expert in. But anytime the city wants to charge the public for money, basically, these set of procedures could come into force. So the Constitution regulates anytime the city tries to extract money from the public, and you could choose to have these procedures apply if you want.
That was a really good choice of words. Anytime the city wants to extract money from the public. Anyway, I know that for sewer, we're required to have those meetings, and we did have one just a few months ago, and we filled the room, and most people left happy because we didn't charge as much as we could have. And also when the question of short-term rentals came up, there was a number of people here that own them and were interested in them. And so it was well attended. So maybe my concerns aren't warranted. I don't know. What I see mostly in these meetings, and thanks for all of you that are here tonight, is apathy. Our meetings really aren't well attended, and it would be pretty easy for somebody in the public to miss a fee. We have no local newspaper. Maybe they don't read the agenda and lose their opportunity pretty easily. And I'm going to get down off my soapbox now. Any other comments? Okay, well, the recommended action is to introduce and waive comments from the public. I thought I mentioned that earlier, but
Yeah.
Harry?
Since we answered no questions.
It's great news, Larry, to hear that you're pushing that economic development. The first thing to fixing the problem is admitting you have one. And we have one, no question about it. And there's many things that we are right on a bubble with.
Hold on. We're discussing just this particular subject. So does that, what you're gonna say?
It'll get into that.
Okay.
Whenever there's a problem in this town, from being here 37 years, if the right problem gets to the right mouthpiece in this town, it's only 4 square miles. It doesn't take very long for it to get around. I've been in this room when there's standing room only, people standing outside the door. So as far as trying to reach people, I think if it's a matter of, public concern, somehow the network in this town, it gets through. Whether that's constitutional or not, don't know, don't really care. All I know is I've seen it work. So I don't know why you need to, belabor a point like that. If it means something to the people in Colfax, they'll let you know whether they like it or they don't. That simple.
Any other comment from the public? Any other comment from council members? Okay, do I hear a motion to introduce and waive the first reading?
So then I'll make a motion that we waive the first reading of the ordinance. And we say, establishing administrative remedies procedure for challenges to fees, charges, and assessments.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Do we want a roll call or?
I just want to add a couple comments again, and that is that I just believe that this is probably the right thing to do, but it really behooves the city to make sure that we get the word out. And that falls on staff, and I trust that our staff and council, we need to make sure that we don't introduce any fees and surprise people, that's all. And I believe we can do that.
I want to say it also behooves the public to do their job and sign up for the agendas and open them up and look at them and come by and look at it on the wall if they don't have emails, because we put it out, but we cannot force them to read it. So.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed, abstained, motion carries. Now we move to good of the order. Sean, do you have anything good to say?
Sure. I'm interested in putting the proposed resolution on the agenda for our next meeting to discuss it. If you're okay with that.
Is that the resolution that was presented during public
Yes.
comment tonight?
Yes.
We can make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, Larry, anything?
No.
Caroline? Let's see. Well,
The chili cook-off. No, the chili cook-off is on Saturday. We have a huge weekend. Hold on. I gotta pull it up real quick. Yeah, so Sean is gonna pick the winner at the chili cook-off on Saturday. So Sean is a judge. Oh, Sharon's a judge too? Oh, crap. All right, so I think we have at least 12 entries into the chili cook-off. There may be more. That was my last count. And we've got 3. They're doing a first, second, third place and a people's choice as well. So everybody come to the chili cook-off. It is on Saturday at the little outdoor patio there on North Main from 11 to 1. You get to taste the chili, vote for it. It's actually a really busy weekend, if I recall. You've got the farmers market tomorrow, and it is our second kids makers market also. So you're going to have multiple booths with kids that have come up with an idea, made it, figured out how much it's going to cost selling it. It's an entire lesson in being an entrepreneur for the kids. So you have several different booths on tomorrow night with that one. What else was there happening this week? There was something else. What was it, Sean? Yeah, so that's next week. Yeah, so you have the first responders dinner coming up next week. You have the play coming up next week as well. Like I said, that's free to the public. There was a fundraiser, a bowling family night for the fifth and sixth grade science camp. See, I knew I had more stuff. And that's all I remember off the top of my head.
VFW breakfast too.
Oh, that's right. This weekend is the pancake breakfast. Is it this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this weekend is the pancake breakfast and the bake sale on Sunday. So have chili on Saturday and pancakes on Sunday. Right? Did I miss anything? All right. There you go. Sorry.
Thank you. And we hope that it'll be chilly on that day to encourage people to show up and eat the chili.
It is actually supposed to be.
Yeah, it should be a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Summers. You have more? Okay.
Anything for the good of the order, Connor or Ron?
I think we should allow public comment on the good of the order, if there is any.
Yep.
Any comment on the good of the order? Any comment from us on their lack of comment? Hearing none, the October 9th, 2024 meeting at 7:08 is adjourned.
You.